I'm going to start the afternoon with our land acknowledgement, which we do in Canada. The University of Guelph resides on the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. We recognize this gathering place where we work and learn is home to many past, present, and future First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. Our acknowledgement of the land is our declaration of our collective responsibility to this place and its people's histories, rights, and presence. Our school supports and adds our collective voice to the calls to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Committee on Indian Residential Schools to never forget, to hold governments and colonial forces to account, to seek redress and healing for injustice. Good afternoon. My name is Sheila O'Reilly, and although I'm a relatively new practitioner of yoga, I've been part of the planning committee of this extraordinary yoga speaker series. It gives me great pleasure this afternoon to introduce my sister Diana O'Reilly, who has been practicing yoga for years, going from a student in Toronto to a teacher in Wales. And what a teacher. And most recently as the chair of the British School of Yoga. I'm having a feedback, but that's all right. Okay, one beneficial outcome of this pandemic is that Di has begun teaching our family a weekly yoga class. For a bit of background, we might have had an early inkling of Di's bent for exploring and expanding on the flexibility of the human body. When very young, Di and I shared a bedroom, and like many siblings who have to stay in a really small divided place, we'd often play games at night before falling asleep. One of the more memorable games was Reach Far, a complex little game that involved sitting upright in each of our single beds, which were divided by a night table, and try to reach far toward the end of the bed. Whichever of us reached the furthest won. And although Di is younger than I am, I think she was born taller than me, so she usually won. But on retrospect, I think that this game of Reach Far set the stage for her love of yoga, or her love for always looking to expand, to connect, and to reach and consider our space within the universe. So Di is going to be reaching far across the pond for those of us in Canada to share with us her expertise. Di will be starting with a short yoga practice, then addressing a most topical and perhaps most vitally instructive, how to fight, drawing on the thoughts of Thich Nhat Hanh and thoughts of yoga. So over to you, Di.
Thank you, Sheila. It's really lovely to see everybody here. Some of the faces are familiar and some of the faces are new. So welcome, everyone. And hello, Sushila, I can see you waving there. But thank you also, Lalit, for organizing this yoga speaker series. It's very special and may it continue for many years. I'd like to start with a breathing practice, and then we'll carry on to the talk. So if everybody could sit comfortably, and I'm going to sit back a bit. I'm going to sit on my mat so that you can see me. And I'd like you to see my hands, actually, because in this breathing practice, we're going to have our hands in a particular position. We're going to have a Hasta Mudra. Take yourself off speaker if you can't see my hands. I'm not sure if my name is in front of that. So I'll talk you through the breathing practice, but I'm going to describe how I'd like your hands to be. We're going to take our left hand. I'm taking my right. If you're wondering why I'm doing that, I'm going to mirror you for the class. So we're going to take our left hand. We're going to place it in a cup shape in the lap. And then we're going to take the right hand. We're going to place it hand down, face down, and we're going to place the fingertips on the floor. If you're sitting on a chair, perhaps place the fingers on a chair. The idea of the fingers down is that it's grounding. So we connect with the earth, and the left hand is to build prana in the body. All right. So let's get into this comfortable position. This is called Bhumi Sparsha Mudra. Let's close our eyes. Let's take some breaths. Create some space in the mind, perhaps. Some calm. And then let's draw our attention to our breath. And while maintaining a comfortable breath, can we elongate the exhalation? Just slightly, it doesn't have to be a lot. You might notice that when you lengthen the exhalation, the inhalation changes. So find a comfortable length to your exhalation and depth to your inhalation, which you can maintain. And then we're going to begin to introduce some pauses into the inhalation. So let's inhale partially and pause. Inhale partially and pause, and then inhale completely and pause, and then exhale completely with that lovely long exhalation that we've cultivated. So it's inhale, pause, inhale, pause, inhale completely, and then a long exhalation. So now develop a rhythm to that yourself. So that it feels good. And then after the next exhalation, let that go and let your breath move back into its natural rhythm, its natural depth. And when your breath is back into its natural rhythm and depth, then release your hands and relax them on your lap. And then let's open our eyes, and I'm going to come back towards the computer so I can talk to you. So there's some faces I recognize and some faces I don't. Do let me know if you can't hear me or anything like that. You know, just put it in the chat room, and that'll get communicated to me. So today we're going to be talking about how to fight. I'm using books that I've put in the chat room. I'm basing my talk on Thich Nhat Hanh's book of the same name, How to Fight, and also on the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the Mahabharata, and primarily I'm going to be drawing on the Bhagavad Gita. So those are some of the texts that I'm going to be drawing on. So I put it in the chat room, but I haven't mentioned the translations I've used. If anybody's interested in what particular translations I've used, just get in touch with me or put it in the chat box and I'll let you know. The other thing is I haven't taught many of you, and I just want to make sure that when we do a physical yoga practice today, that you're working with ahimsa or non-harming, so that if you do need to modify any postures, you do. and we endeavor to work with care for our body. Okay. And the way I'm going to work it is I'm going to talk for a bit, then we'll do a physical practice, then I'll talk and we'll do a meditation, and then I'll talk and we'll do a physical practice, and then I'll finish up. And by then that will be hopefully about an hour. So my talk is on how to fight, and the theme of this series is yoga for you and the planet. And it's difficult to talk about the planet without talking about the global crisis, the environmental crisis, or some people say catastrophe that is going on today, in terms of global warming, in terms of mass extinction, soil erosion, et cetera, et cetera. So how do we address that? And I think the first question we can ask is whether to fight, not how to fight, but whether to fight or not. Do we fight? And in answering that question, I think we can start to talk about what we're endeavoring to do as yogis. What is yoga? And yoga is, the assertion in yoga is that we have a part of us that is deeper than our physical body, that is more than our physical body. It's universal, and it may be called the true self, it may be called the transcendental self, it may be called the soul or the spirit, but yoga asserts that there is this part of each and every one of us, and that this part is connected to this universal soul or universal spirit, which, you know, in Western terms, we might term as God. In the East, they might term as Brahman, or, you know, I remember having a teacher who referred to the universal intelligence that we would refer to. But the assertion in yoga is that we are connected to something. Something in us is connected to that universal thing, that universal force. So the quest, yoga is a quest. Yoga is a quest to find that thing within us, to get to know it, and then to live in adherence to it. So if that part of us is universal, then that part of us is part of the planet. We are part of the earth is part of us. And so in caring for us, we then care for the planet. And in caring for the planet, we care for us. But we can care for the planet, we can buy organic, we can plant certain plants in our garden, we can cycle rather than drive. But caring for the planet is different than fighting for the planet. Fighting entails pushback. It entails force. It implies effort. And so do we fight for the planet? And in yoga, we also adhere to the very first code of practice, and that is ahimsa, which is non-harming. And if we fight for the planet, then there will naturally be fallout from it. There will be harm. There will be, for instance, coal miners that will lose their job. The cost of living for all of us will probably go up. And so do we adhere to it, ahimsa, the most important code of practice, non-harming? And if we do that, we can fall into passivity or inaction or settling for caring and not fighting. So that's the question. Do we care for the planet or do we fight for the planet? And in answering that question, I would refer to the Bhagavad Gita. And the Bhagavad Gita, I think many of you know the Bhagavad Gita, but I'll give some background to the Gita for some of you that don't know it. When Gandhi died, he had 4 things, didn't he? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. He had his robe, his glasses, his sandals, and his copy of the Bhagavad Gita. So the Bhagavad Gita is a text that is part of the Mahabharata. It was written about 500 BC. And in it is the story of this warrior, this famous warrior, Arjuna. He is the rightful heir to a throne, and his uncle and then subsequently his cousin have taken over this kingdom, and the cousin has ruled it badly. So the kingdom has been thrown into chaos and poverty. So Arjuna, after efforts to work peacefully with his cousin, has then resorted, an unsuccessful effort, has then resorted to garnering a battalion, an army. And the story begins with his facing his cousin's army. And he's in his chariot, and his chariot driver is Krishna. Unbeknownst to him is Lord Krishna, who is basically God made man. Lord Krishna is the manifestation of Brahman. So, but Arjuna at this point just thinks he's his childhood friend. So it's a great story in which Arjuna looks at the opposing army and he says, I can't fight, because he sees his cousins and he sees his teachers and he says, I can't kill them. And so he gets out of the chariot, sits down on the ground and is in despair. And Krishna then gets out of the chariot and says, yes, you can. And so begins this dialogue between Arjuna and Krishna on what is a warrior and what is yoga. So the Bhagavad Gita is the first text to describe yoga. So in it, Krishna says quite pointedly, yes, you can fight and you must fight. You must fight because you are a warrior. That's what you are. And so taken from that, if we take that to our actions with regards to the planet, we must fight for the planet. And so the reasoning for that, what Krishna says is basically, he says, the universe was created by a selfless action by Brahman. So this action then, this selfless action of Brahman created the universe, but Brahman continues with selfless action to maintain the universe for the well-being of the universe. And that's what underpins our actions, to have selfless action for the well-being of the universe. So Brahman does that for the universe. Krishna, being the manifestation of Brahman, does that for the world. And then we, taking the example of Krishna, do that for our planet. And I think the Bhagavad Gita is a very Hindu-centric text, but perhaps it's easier to talk about it in a secular way, in which we would say the universe was created from some action, whether it's the Big Bang or whether it's the 7 days, but it was an action that created the universe, and a selfless action. The universe is maintained with the planets orbiting the sun through selfless action, through photosynthesis, through stars dying and being born. So we then, when we work selflessly, when we act selflessly for the well-being of the planet, we're acting in harmony with the universe. If we said that in the context of the Bhagavad Gita, then if we act selflessly, we're acting in harmony with Krishna and with Brahman. So, and this is a message that's put forth by every religious tradition. To be happy, endeavor to act selflessly, endeavor to act for others. So it's something that can resonate with all of us. So that's what Krishna tells Arjuna. And I think after that talking, I think we've answered the question of, do we fight? And the answer is, at least I'm asserting that the answer is yes. I think we can start with some yoga now. So why don't we get onto our mats? Do people have mats? I hope they have mats. And if not, just get onto the floor. Okay, and I'll move back. And again, as always, I'm going to move my computer a little bit so you can see me. As always, take yourself off mute or chat and let me know if you can't hear me. So on your mats, maybe bang the backs of your feet on the ground, get a little movement. We've been sitting for a while. Maybe flop the feet in and out a little bit. And the first few movements we're going to do are going to be things that are going to create space in the body. So let's take our legs wide. We're going to start with a wide-legged forward bend. And let's pull the flesh away from the sitting bones. So we're sitting on our sitting bones and our glute muscles are out of the way. And when we do wide-legged forward bends in particular, I'm a bit pedantic about the feet. I always suggest that people turn their feet upward and flex their ankle, because I find, first of all, I find it energizes the legs. It, engages that pada bandha at the end of the feet, but it also protects the inside of my knees in particular. I find that if I let my feet flop out, I overstretch the inside of my knees. And if you're feeling tight, then let's take the fingertips to the floor behind you, and then maybe place a little bit of pressure onto the fingertips, and you'll feel the stretch on the inside of the thighs. If you're feeling a little more bendy today, let's take the fingertips to the floor in front of us. And as we breathe out, perhaps, and I'm going to turn sideways so you can see, as we breathe out, just have a little fold of the torso down towards the ground, as if we want to keep the back in a neutral position, and we'd want to draw our belly towards the ground. And then when we breathe in, come up. So it's quite a modest move. And we can do that on our breath. We breathe out, we fold down. We're not rounding the back yet. Our neck isn't, we're not turning up or down. Everything's pretty neutral in the spine. We're just folding back and forth with the breath very gently. And then the next time you fold down, you might want to take that spine and start draping it over the ground. So that's going to depend on what your back wants today. You might want to round the back and extend the back of the spine. You might want to keep the back quite straight and neutral. I had a student who, because of a back condition, needs to keep the back quite neutral. Other students really need that rounding of the back to open up some space there. And so let's have a few breaths in this wide-legged forward bend. Make it feel good. Always, always make it feel good. As if there are always the underpinnings of well-being in your practice. And how is your breath? And then from this position, we can, if you'd like to, maybe walk the hands over towards one leg and have a little bit of a twist towards that leg. I use my hands, I press into the ground a little bit more. And then we might walk those hands over to the other leg and have a little bit of a twist towards the other leg. You can do that. You can twist the spine. You can stay in your forward bend. If you'd like to take a side bend, you can always take your arm to the inside of your leg and reach the other arm, the open arm, up and over and get a side bend. So you've got some options to do in this. And what might be useful is to close your eyes and just feel through what your body needs today. So start to work instinctively with what's needed today in your body to release tension, to create space, and maintaining that lovely soft breath. And whenever you finish what you're doing, make your way up, back up to sitting. Take your time, there's no rush. And we're going to, from here, cross our legs and do a few seated cat. So find a comfortable cross-legged position. You can always use a block if you want to. And we're going to arch the back and gaze upward. And then round the back and draw the chin to the chest. And I'm not going to talk you through the breath with this. I'm going to allow you to kind of feel your way into the breath. So the breath, the right breath for the move surfaces organically. You might want to close your eyes. So again, you're feeling your way through this. And it can become your meditation. Let's take one arm over to one side, take the hand to the ground and bring the other arm up and over. And then let's do this from side to side, a side bend. I like to breathe out when I'm tilting. And you decide whether that works for you, as long as you're moving on the breath. We've got a nice long exhalation now that we cultivated at the beginning of this talk. So use that long exhalation. You might also want to use the pause after the exhalation. You might want to close your eyes. Now, if you're loving tilting from side to side, then continue. If that's what your body needs today, continue to tilt from side to side. But otherwise, you may, when you come back up to sitting, want to move into the twist. So we twist towards one side, our hand holds on to the opposite knee. And I like sweeping my arms up in between and then taking the twist to the opposite side. I think that's a really lovely gesture. Sweeping up of the arms. If that suits you. Some people just like floating the arms. You know, eyes are closed. We're just feeling those arms float. So that can feel nice as well. You decide. Breath and movement. And then let's at some point bring our spine back around into that neutral position and extend our legs out. No, don't extend your legs out. Let's bend our legs and have our feet flat on the ground. So we're going to have our hands behind us supporting us, and our feet are quite wide. And we're going to do, I call this the All Blacks warm-up, and we swing our knees from side to side. So I don't know what it's called in Canada, but, and I just made up this name for it. But I went to Wales playing the All Blacks. And I always go, when we go to a rugby game, I always go early so I can see the teams warm up. And the All Blacks were doing this. So I always call it the All Blacks warm up. And it's just simply swinging the knees from side to side, but I think it's fabulous for the hips. And what we're going to do is when we drop the knees down to the right, if you can't sit up, if you're feeling tight, then you continue to lean back, that's fine. But if you can sit up, and it might help to draw the left leg in, then do. And we're going to twist to the left and hold for a breath. And then we're going to unfold. We're going to take the knees to the left. Same thing, if you can sit up, then fold the right leg in and twist to the right and hold for a breath. And then let's come out of this, and we're going to extend both legs in front of us, and we're going to do a fabulous thread the needle that I was taught by just a month ago by another teacher. We're going to take our right leg. This is a sitting thread the needle. I thought this was very useful. We're going to take the right leg, and we're going to place the outside of the right ankle on the front of the left thigh. So for some of you, that might be as far as you want to go with this. You can already feel a strong stretch. But for other ones, and again, I'll turn sideways so you can see, we're going to bend the left leg so that, you know, we can feel it. You know, I am sure, well, if you can't feel this, then I don't know what to do with you. This is as far as I can go with it. And I push into the floor a little bit too. You know, if you want to go a bit further, you can either press into the floor, or you can even lift your breastbone a little bit. This little lift of the breastbone, we'll dig into it a bit. And then from here, you can take, if you want to introduce the movement, you can take the right foot and you can fold the right foot down to the left side of you. Bring the leg up, fold the right knee down to the right side of you. So it's like we're doing the All Blacks warm up and a thread the needle together. And have a few goes with that. And then let's do it on the other side. So let's extend the legs out to start with. We're going to take the left ankle to the front of the right thigh. We're going to slide, if you want to, we're going to slide the right leg. And this can be really modest. It doesn't have to be a big bend, you know. You can take it. This is the nice thing about this is it can be as modest as you need it to be. And then you've got the stretch. And after a few breaths with the stretch, you might want to dig into it a little bit by pressing the hands into the ground, by lifting the breastbone up a little bit. You might want to close your eyes and breathe with that for a moment. And then if you feel like moving on to movement, take the left foot down to the right side, and then take the left knee down to the left side. So you're either staying still in the stretch, digging into the stretch, or you're rolling the legs over to either side. Both are good. Good. And then let's bring the legs up. And we're going to do one last thing. We're going to do a bridge pose, but bridge pose has two names. Dynamic bridge is called in Sanskrit Dvipada. That's the one we're going to do. Dvipada meaning 2 feet. So, and I'm going to refer to those 2 feet. So let's lie down on our backs and have our legs bent and our feet flat on the ground and our arms alongside the body. And we're going to start by, as we breathe out, pressing the feet into the ground. So it's like anchoring the feet into the ground and allowing the lower back to flatten out. Okay, that's all we're doing. We're not lifting the hips to start with. So just pelvic tilts. We breathe out, we anchor the feet into the ground strongly, we flatten out the lower back. We breathe in and then we relax these muscles. Now, the next time you do that, let's then, from that flattened lower back, peel the hips off the ground and lift the arms to rest on the floor above the head. And we're not getting terribly high. When we breathe in, we're going to come back down. Did I say breathe out or breathe in? I think I'm going to let you decide the breath on this one. Again, just follow the breath. Follow how the breath comes naturally. What I'm more interested in is anchoring the feet, making the movement come from the feet. Dvipada pitam. And as you lift the hips, attempt to lengthen out the spine as if your tailbone is being pulled into the space in front of your legs. And then settle back down on the ground.
How do you do it?
So it's a very modest lift. It's not a big lift we're doing. We're not lifting. It's not the full bridge pose where we lift the hips as high as we can. This is dynamic bridge where we're doing it to lengthen the spine, as if every time your hips lift, the pelvis is being pulled towards the knees or the tailbone is being pulled towards a space in front of you. I knew a teacher called it wedge pose instead, and I thought that might be a more accurate term for it. Now the next time the hips come back down to the ground, let it be the last one. Take the arms out to either side, drop the knees to the right, take the gaze to the left. And pause, you can close your eyes, have a breath, you're not going anywhere. Drop the knees to the left, take the gaze to the right. Same thing, close your eyes, breathe. And then from this position, just roll yourself into the fetal position and come up to sitting. We'll carry on with the talk. So get yourself comfortable again. that practice was primarily to create space in the body. Okay. To create space in the body. And the reason for creating space in the body is because with space, there are possibilities. With possibilities, there's potential. Okay. And with potential, there's potential for action. And yoga is the path of action. And that's stated in the Bhagavad Gita very clearly. Yoga is the path of action. And I don't know if this resonates with you, but you might have found that when you practice yoga regularly, or when you go to yoga classes regularly, what surfaces very naturally is a sense of agency in your life. So in other words, people who are yogis don't tend to be kind of still apathetic people. They tend to have a sense of agency. They tend to be action oriented. And it's not a coincidence. Yoga is designed for that, and we create space. We're not just when we're on the mat and we're creating space physically, we're not just creating space physically, we're also creating it in the mind for that potential and potential for action. So that's what we did. So we've answered, do we fight? Now we can move on to how to fight. And for how to fight, that's when I go to Thich Nhat Hanh's book, How to Fight. And Thich Nhat Hanh is interesting. He starts with the idea of fighting with self-love. We start with love for ourselves, which then creates love for, expands into love for the planet, love for the universe. But it's also compassion and love for the people we don't agree with, for the people we're battling. And in that attitude, so in other words, we're starting with the right attitude. And in that attitude, we then can be skillful because we can pause. And if we pause, we're able to give the people we're battling a chance to disarm themselves. They're not as defensive. We can breathe. Well, breathing, that's another thing that he emphasizes, to breathe. And breathing is about self-compassion. We take care of ourselves in the battle. And then we listen. We listen to them so that we understand where they're coming from. And that's a really important thing in battling, to listen. I was watching a show on Greta Thunberg and how she went to Poland to listen to the miners, the coal miners. And it was quite a lovely scene between her and the coal miners. They felt as if they'd been heard by her. And so they dropped their defenses. So this is a powerful tool to listen. And it might be interesting to talk about the word anger. Where does anger come into this? Well, anger, we don't battle with anger. Anger is a catalyst. So according to Thich Nhat Hanh, anger is a catalyst that we transform. So those are the qualities that we use. And we fight, again, we're always fighting with a sense of selfless action for the well-being of the universe. So we don't fight for our ego. We don't fight for greed. We don't fight for fear or attachment or envy or vengeance. And because if we do fight for those things, we're not skillful. And we want to fight skillfully. So we use breath, we use pausing, we use communication, we use listening to be skillful, but we don't use anger. We don't use vengeance. We don't use envy. We don't use our ego. All right. So in that vein, I'd like to move into a meditation. And the meditation is going to be a metta meditation. It's a Buddhist meditation. It's a meditation for loving kindness. And it's 4 lines saying, may I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. And I'm going to say it 3 times. And then if we could, when we're doing the meditation, if we could take our hands in the Anjali Mudra. And when we have our hands in the Anjali Mudra, the thumbs are against the breastbone. So the thumbs point to the heart center or connect with the heart center with this reference to self-love. So with our hands in Anjali Mudra, let's close our eyes and let's pause for a moment. Let's breathe. Let's listen. I'm going to say these 4 lines 3 times. And if you know the words or you get to know the words, then you can murmur along with them, or you can just listen. So may we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. So we know that we fight, and we know that we fight with certain qualities, skillful qualities to make us skillful. And it is important to be vigilant about why we're fighting, to remind ourselves that we don't fight for ego. I mean, I think that we can all call to mind some campaigns in which we feel as if the leaders of the campaign are doing so from an egotistical standpoint. And the idea is that we're less skillful at that point. I remember reading Vanda Scaravelli's book, and she was talking about how if we have ambition, we end up being mediocre. We don't want to be mediocre in this. Having said that, we're not always assuring that we do things perfectly. And that's not really the point. The idea is to engage in selfless action for the betterment of the world, for the betterment of the planet, as best we can. And again, there's another line that my brother always said, and I thought was great. And it ended up, I found the poem that it came from. It was a poem by Jack Gilbert called Flying and Failing. And it says, anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Right? So we will make errors, we will make mistakes, but we remain vigilant. We're vigilant to why we're doing this, and that's the best we can do. So we know how to fight. Then we can come down to, well, how do we get to the point where we know we're not using our ego in our fight? That's a tall order. And then we go to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And in the Yoga Sutra 1.14, Patanjali says that we practice yoga earnestly, without pause, and for a long time. Earnestly, without pause, and for a long time. So we're serious when we practice yoga. We concentrate. Without pause, we don't do yoga for 3 months and then we get busy in life. So we drop it for 3 months and then we go back to after 3 months and then we drop it again. We practice it without pause and we practice it for a long time. And therein lies the magic in yoga, in that in doing so, the ability for us to discover our true self and for the ego to begin to drop away happens on its own. It happens organically. I had a teacher who used the word imbibe. We imbibe qualities that we want, that will make us skillful. So we don't have to work at it. All we have to do is do our yoga earnestly, without pause, and for a long time. That's why yoga is so wonderful. That's the reason. So now what exactly do we do? What do each of us do? We don't have to all have the same role in the battle. And in that, again, we go back to the Bhagavad Gita and we use the word that Krishna uses called Svadharma, our Svadharma. So our Dharma means universal law or duty. And Svadharma means our own universal law or our own duty. And so duty is a funny word in the West, but what it's really saying, what we would use in the West, which would perhaps be more familiar, is our calling, our purpose. And so we find out what our calling is in our life, and then we do it. That's our duty, to follow our calling in our life. And then everything becomes quite easy. Things become easier in life. So we end up working in harmony with the universe. So that calling is, there's no sort of echelon to the calling, higher or lower. If you're a teacher, then you use your teaching qualities to work for the betterment of the universe, for selfless action. If you're a scientist, you use your qualities of, analytic qualities for the betterment of the universe. If you're a wheeler dealer, you would use those qualities for the betterment of the universe. If you're a politician, obviously a politician, they would be, key to this role of saving our planet. So your Svadharma is unique to you, and you find out what it is. I remember there was some, group work that we had to do when I was in my 20s, and people said, "Oh, what are you good at?" They were going around the circle, and I didn't know what to say. So I said, "Well, I'm good at talking." And then I realized, oh, maybe I am good at talking, so that's what I do. I talk. So there's, we have to be, understand our calling, as modest as it may seem. So we find out what our Svadharma is, we follow that. And then again, we're working in harmony with the universe, and there's an ease to our life. And there's an ease because we are in harmony. And in that, then we can let go of whether there's any success or failure in this, because we're doing all that we can. We're working for the betterment of the universe. We're following our calling. We're working in earnestness. And what more can we do? We're trying to work without ego. We're trying to work with the skills of communication and compassion and love. And then whether our endeavors are successful or are a failure is often beyond us. And, if we look at the work with the planet right now, we do have to say we're losing the fight. But it's not as if we're not going to fight. We're still going to fight. We're going to go out fighting, because that's what we do, because we're warriors. So now to let go of this attachment to success or failure is also another one of these, very high callings in yoga. It's like letting go of your ego. I mean, how do you do that? How do you maintain that? And the word they use in yoga is equanimity towards success or failure. You're on a very even keel, equal-minded towards success and failure. And again, we go back to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and the word he uses is vairagya. That's the word for dispassion or equanimity. And the way to achieve it is through, again, practicing yoga. And in particular, I would say from my experience, the way to achieve that is through meditation. I find meditation a quite almost a miraculous way in which, again, these qualities are imbibed. We don't have to work at them. We just meditate. We practice our yoga and we meditate. So I'd like to do two things to finish off. I'm talking so much because I like talking so much that I'm forgetting to do the physical practice. So we're going to go back to the physical practice, and then we're going to do another metta meditation. Okay? So now the physical practice we're going to do has to do with particular postures. We're going to do the warrior poses. I'm going to check the time to see if we do have time. Oh yeah, we have time. We're going to do the warrior poses, and I'd like to pick them apart a little bit. And I'd like to do different hand positions. I'm fascinated by how when we change our hand positions in a posture, it can change the mood of a pose. And we might change our arm positions a little bit in these postures, and it will change the mood of the pose. So can we come back to our mats? I'm going to adjust my computer so that you can see a little bit more of me. All right. And come onto the mat. I might come back and forth to the computer to make sure you can see me. And maybe just shake your legs out a little bit. We've been sitting for a bit. Shake your legs out. And then we're going to first come into our posture Tadasana, mountain pose. So let's take those feet under our hips. I always like to paw the ground a little bit with my feet and lift my toes and stretch them apart and place them back down on the ground. And then let's soften the knees. Let's close the eyes for a moment, unless you need to keep your eyes open for balance. And if we can tap into that line of energy that stems from the arches of the feet up to the pelvic floor, feel that upward movement of that energy to the pelvic floor. And then if we can tap into that line of energy from the pelvic floor to the pit of the belly. It's a very gentle, subtle lift in energy to the pit of the belly. And then from the pit of the belly to the breastbone. And then again, that subtle lift of energy through the crown of the head. And then let's tap into that downward energy from the shoulder blades, downward to the tailbone, from the tailbone down to the heels. This is our Tadasana, our mountain pose. And let's breathe with the mountain pose. How does that feel? How does that feel? And then from our mountain pose, we're going to take our right leg back and we're going to stand in pyramid pose. We're going to start to move towards warrior two. So let's square those hips. And warrior two is a very forward moving action pose. So we're going to take the left knee and we're going to bend the left knee as we exhale. And then as we inhale, we're going to lift that left knee back into that relatively straight position. So let's continue on in that. We're going to bend as we exhale and then lift up and see how that feels. Again, that gesture towards forward movement. When I do this, I love to feel my back leg. It's like my back leg kicks in and it grounds me. It gives me my base from which I move forward. And then the next time we bend our knee, let's keep it there. And we're going to start with a very classical arm position for warrior one. We're going to rotate our arms outward and we're going to lift them up in that relatively straight position. I'll turn towards you so you can see. And in here, the upper arms are squeezing towards each other while the shoulder blades drop down. I find this an awful lot of work. Anyway, see how you find it. I'll stop talking. Let's take the arms back down. Now this time we're going to take on a hand movement. I'm going to move the computer a little bit so you can see my arms. But the hand gesture is going to be to turn the palms of the hands upward. The heel of the hand extends upward and the fingers are extended outward. So this is often the position, the Hasta Mudra for the lotus flower. So we're changing the hand position to the lotus flower, but we're going to open it up in our warrior pose, okay? So that the hands are going to be out. So here we are in our position for warrior one with the legs. Let's rotate those arms outward. Now, what I'd like you to do from this position is I'd like you to decide how high you want to lift your arms. And I want the feeling in your warrior one posture to feel magnificent. So you decide how high those arms float up in order for you to feel magnificent. Heels of the hands are extending up, palms of the hands are facing the ceiling. Fingers are extended in that lotus mudra. How does that feel? We're going to change the hand position now. We're going to turn the palms of the hands forward. we're going to make fists with our hands and hold the hands like this. And how does that change the pose? Let's relax the arms. Let's step the right leg back in line with the left. And then let's step the left leg behind us. So we've got our pyramid pose. We'll do the same thing on the other leg. So let's start maybe with the hands on the hips and just bending the front leg and extending it. And get used to that feeling. Just observe what's happening with the body when you have that forward shift. The next time the leg bends, let's keep it there. And this time, we don't have to do the traditional warrior one. We're going to go straight to the lotus posture. So let's rotate the arms outward. Take that Hasta Mudra, those hands that we're working with. And then again, you decide where you want to float those arms up to feel magnificent. And then from here, let's change the hand position, turn the palms of the hands forward, release the Hasta Mudra, make fists with our hands and hold the pose. And observe what that posture elicits in your body. Let's relax out of that. And then bring the left leg back, you're coming home to Tadasana. Step that right leg back again. We're going to take a wide-legged posture. I'm going to change the computer a little bit so you can see my legs a bit more. And then we're going to turn the right foot out, maybe pigeon toe the left foot, getting ready for a warrior two. And again, let's bend that right leg and extend it. Do that a few times. Again, kind of seeing what happens to the body when we shift into moving forward, that forward action. Because of course, with yoga, with hatha yoga, where we use our physical body, these physical movements have shifts in the mind. So what we take on physically, we take on mentally as well. So the next time you bend the legs, let's keep the knee there, sitting over the ankle. We're going to sweep the left arm up behind us and maybe look behind us for a moment. And we're going to emphasize the strength of that back leg, but also almost pulling of the torso back towards that back leg. Often when we do warrior two, we lean forward, but we need to have that central focus of the torso. So we take on this warrior position in a centered way. We are centered. And so again, that for me, that creates a little bit of almost like a bite, a muscular bite in the left side of the torso. So let's for a moment emphasize that back of the torso, the whole energy of the back of the torso. Then from this, let's take the gaze forward. From establishing the back of the torso, we then establish the front of the torso, the forward movement, and let the right arm float up and take the gaze point. And the gaze is steady. It's an incredibly confident pose, warrior two. Let's relax out of that, and then let's straighten up that right leg, pivot the feet around. So now your left foot is extended outward, your right foot is slightly pigeon-toed, and we can bend the left knee a few times. So bending and extending again, just enjoying that sensation of establishing the two legs in their different role. And then the next time you bend the left knee, let's leave it there. And then let's pay attention to the back of the body and establish it. So the back leg is strong. The back arm extends up. And then there's that slight pull of the torso. towards the back leg. So we're held, and we've created the back of the body. We've created our background, essentially. We've established our background. And from that, we look forward. We float the arms up to that forward moving position and that gaze. So it's such a calm pose, such a quiet pose, warrior two. Let's fold out of this now. We're going to keep our legs fairly wide. You might want to take your legs in a little more. And this time have the heels facing towards each other and the feet turned out, I don't know, maybe about 45 degrees. And let's bend the legs. And I kind of always have to shift from side to side to establish this position. We don't have to bend the legs at a time. If we work at bending the legs an awful lot, notice how my torso tilts forward. And we're taking goddess pose. So we want the torso completely upright. Goddess pose it's like creating a brick wall, right? Through which you are impenetrable. Goddess pose. And then we're going to take the arms up and we're going to spread those fingers apart. And then let's look at the left shoulder and make sure the left elbow is in line with the left shoulder. And the right shoulder and elbow, and make sure the elbow is in line with the shoulder. This is our goddess pose. Such a fabulous pose. How does that feel? What does that elicit in you? We're going to go into another pose in which we make fists with our hands. And this actually isn't a yoga pose. This is a position that monkeys move into when they fight. We're going to straighten our legs out just a little bit, and we're going to lift our arms up. This is the position that monkeys take when they go into battle. Perhaps observe what that creates in you. What does that elicit? Let's go back to the goddess pose. So if we do the full goddess pose, you stick your tongue out and you roar. So I think we should all stick our tongue out and roar in our goddess pose so that we're warriors. We're gonna roar for the planet. So I'll do it 3 times and you can join in if you'd like to. Ha! 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 And then come on out of it. And come back to your mats. Come back to sitting down comfortably somewhere. So maybe we can, in the questions afterwards, you can comment on any sort of feelings that you felt in those poses and what they elicited. That's one thing in yoga that I'm particularly interested in. So I'd be interested in your comments. I'd like to finish with the metta meditation. And this time, the first 4 lines that I'm going to say, may I be filled with loving kindness, may I be well, may I be peaceful and at ease, may I be happy. And then I'm going to shift to, may we be filled with loving kindness. And we, in this instance, means all of us here, but all of humanity and all of the planet, the stones and the rocks and the trees. And I think that the metta meditation creates the right attitude that we have when we go to battle for the planet. So the first stanza, I'd like to use the Hasta Mudra, the Anjali Mudra, thumbs against the breastbone. And then finishing it, I'd like to take the hands down, resting on the thighs with the index finger and the thumb joined, but I'll tell you about that. I'll document that or remind you of that. So let's start by sitting comfortably. Let's close our eyes, and I'll repeat it about 8 times. So do get comfortable. Hands in prayer position, thumbs against the brow center. Take a breath. And as before, if you get used to the words, murmur along with it. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. Let's take our hands down to our lap, turn the palms of the hands up and join the index finger and the thumb. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. And we'll sit for about a minute. Let's take our hands in prayer position. Thumbs against the brow center for wisdom, throat center for truth and courage, heart center for love, bow down for surrender, and namaste, everyone. And thank you all very much. And if you have questions, please ask them, or comments. I'm going to look for my glasses to see what the chat say.
Diana, very excellent talk.
Thank you, Sushila.
I always do it morning, our group, 10:30 to 11:30. Chair yoga.
Good.
Yours is nice, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Sushila.
Thank you.
Yes, an excellent talk. Very well done. Extremely well delivered.
Thank you, Hans. Any questions? Let's see. Thank you, Deb. I've got my husband now is able to come down the stairs after the talk. He's allowed to. So you'll hear the creaking on the side. Yeah. Any comments on those different postures that we took and any feelings that they elicited when you held the hands in different positions?
Well, a quick comment. I do agree that even a slight variation in a posture makes it a different posture in terms of our approach, our feelings about it. our reaction to it.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think hands matter. Not hands as in your name. Hands as in Hands.
I know. It's still
But
funny.
you matter too, Hans.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that very much. Is that loving kindness?
Yeah, that is. No, that's skillful.
Skillful means.
Yeah, it did make a big difference when we changed our hands, the positions from here to this.
Good.
Yeah.
That's interesting, Dina. Good, thank you. Yeah, and
yeah, I was going to say that I think this is one of the best talks that I have heard on Gita, and how actually you can move from living, in a yoga world to, living in the outside world, I think they match so beautifully, and when you talk about equanimity, that's what we are trying to really get to,
yeah, equanimity.
Everything that you said was beautiful, actually. I think everybody should watch this talk, This talk, yeah. Very, very, very succinctly, very beautifully done, and exactly what is there. You have talked about that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, and it's nice you mentioned equanimity. It's so essential because I think we exhaust ourselves otherwise. And we can't carry on the fight if we, get overly discouraged at losses. And various campaigns that I've been involved in, and I'm sure Sheila's been involved in as well. You don't always win, and you can that slide into not winning can be long, and to continue to battle despite the fact that you're not winning the campaign is something that is certainly challenging. But it's reassuring to know that you just have to keep practicing yoga and keep meditating. Yeah.
Dai, there is a question in the chat from Lisa. Is equanimity the same as no attachment to outcome?
Yeah, I think equanimity, no attachment to outcome falls under equanimity.
Hello, I will call you back.
Equanimity, I'll just mute. Equanimity is just evenness of mind, to be always on an even keel. So to not worry about the outcome is part of equanimity. And certainly, I've been in a campaign where again, it was a losing campaign and we were all becoming discouraged, and something changed within the campaign and it ended up in our favor. Well, part of it, part of the things we did in the background and our efforts helped with it, but we didn't have anything to do with that change that happened. So you really can't tell what the outcome of something will be. And to a large degree, you're out of control of it. The only thing you can control, the only thing you can take care of is yourself.
Yeah, I think you said it very well that, practice does not stop, We may not win today, but we also don't stop fighting or acting in that selfless action, But it's not going to go away, whatever it is right now, something else will come on,
That's right. This
continues, this never ends.
Yes, and I think that in the Gita, it talks about how, Brahman and Krishna continue to act selflessly for the well-being of the universe, so that others will take that example. And we survive on people behaving selflessly for the well-being of the planet. Where would we be if we didn't have that? And so we need to have those examples for other people, for inspiration.
I wonder if I could just bring up something which I'm grappling with as someone who does adhere to, wants to adhere to nonviolence. And I know that I've heard that Gandhi himself thought the central part of the Bible in Western civilization and thinking was Beatitudes in the Bible, thou shalt not kill, being the main one.
Mm-hmm.
And although I love the idea of fighting with selflessness and fighting for something and striving for the betterment, where could you see? Because I'm thinking back to your story with which you started. Where do you see that non-violence and that thou shalt not kill, which I think is universal actually in religions?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question, because certainly Arjuna says, look, and the Gita is very Hindu centric, so it believes in reincarnation. So Krishna says it's okay, the body will fall away, but the soul still exists, and these people will be reborn. And so, and also in the Gita, don't forget, Arjuna had spent time trying to negotiate a peaceful resolution. And battle was his last resort. So, but sure, in the Gita, yes, in the Gita, there is violence and there is killing. Yeah. Where do we see that? That's a good question. I don't know whether I've answered that. Don't know whether I know. I mean, certainly.
Very difficult one.
Yeah. I mean, certainly for the planet, I wouldn't go and kill somebody for the planet.
Can I ask, Di? Yeah, thank you. That's really
Yeah, Kelly.
Just on the killing thing. So it's one of my biggest more challenges personally, because so much has been affected by humans' activities. For example, in the UK, we've lost a lot of the natural predators, and so it's quite so. Nature conservation, so protecting the planet, typically means that there's acts to control deer or animals that have been moved, like grey squirrels, to protect red squirrels. And so there's my Dharma for nature conservation comes into personal conflict with my personal values around non-harming. And so my head, and if I approach it with my mind and think, actually, we need to maintain the deer population because otherwise the trees and the forests can't grow. But actually it, there's oftentimes, it affects me personally. So I just feel there's a challenge, even when we're trying to protect and fight for the planet, it also brings that challenge. So it's not necessarily harming other humans, but it's harming other creatures.
Are you talking about, for instance, say culling deer?
Culling deer, mink, where mink have been introduced and they're harming water voles, grey squirrels because they can harm the red squirrel population. So in doing nature conservation, actually there's quite a lot of animals that are being killed.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but then, I mean, you could say, yes, but there are things being killed already. The red squirrels are being killed. The trees are being killed because of the deer. So, I think that must mean, but I see what you're saying.
Because we as a human being, we think killing is only killing the human beings,
Yeah.
We are killing everything else.
Yes.
And
that's right.
the Gita says, and the philosophy of nonviolence says that no killing of any living being, any sentient being, even caring for the non-sentient being.
Yeah.
We live our life in that skillful action, that is right action, that is the just action.
So the harm is being done.
Harm is being done, yes.
Then how do we move in then for the well-being of the planet? Kelly works for the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, by the way. He's right in the midst of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw her comment, beautiful comment
Yeah.
She said that in my work, we sometimes say we plant the seeds and they can become the oak trees.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
And then Shelley says surrendering to the outcome.
Mhm.
Yeah. Great.
Diana, I'm just still not clear on what the battle is in the Bhagavad Gita that they're talking about. What are they fighting for? What is he fighting for? And
In the
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. In the Gita, Arjuna is battling for the kingdom. He's the rightful heir to the throne. And it is a battle that took place. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it took place in about 2000 BC. There was a battle between two big families. I can't remember the names of the families. And so that is what the Bhagavad Gita is describing, that particular battle, that epic battle between the two families for the kingdom.
So I guess some of that had to do with, if he's the rightful heir to the throne, it was for the benefit of everyone for him to be the rightful heir, as opposed to it just being follow the rules. I am the rightful heir. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's the intention behind what you're fighting for that really matters. Am I the rightful heir and I need it because my ego needs it? Or
Exactly, because I should be there.
yeah.
Yeah.
The battle is always for adharma. Okay, so our purpose or our living is for the dharma. So that's what was happening, that they were actually really destroying, as Kelly and everybody talked about. We are also killing so many other things. We are killing the planet, forget about even the human beings, So the battle is always for the dharma, to maintain that. We want to maintain that order, the natural order that's there, otherwise it's harmful to everybody.
Yeah.
So adharma, what was happening? Adharma was happening. Dharma was being destroyed.
Well, this is not an academic forum. We're touching on very complicated issues that are debated in the scholarly literature as well. I put in a little plug for my version of Gandhi's translation, but that's just the tip of the iceberg on the literature, and the way in which Gandhi interpreted Gita is not generally accepted by scholars.
That's interesting. And why is that, Hans?
Well, he made it an allegory. He took away the obvious karmic implications of jati and the idea that we have our dharma has to do with a caste system. Gandhi argued that the caste system was reinforced by British and Mughal imperialism. That may be true and may not be true. It's a scholarly debate among historians. But the idea of making something allegorical that was probably not necessarily intended to be allegorical in the first place. It's like taking Winston Churchill's speeches about, fighting the Nazis and saying, well, this is to save the planet. Well, yes. You could interpret it that way, but it's basically nationalism. And Gandhi was an advocate of nationalism. He wasn't an advocate of the environmental justice that we now think of. So these issues are very complicated, and that's why I've been so intrigued by them. And then we have this problem of popular versions of things. Thich Nhat Hanh is basically a Vietnamese Buddhist. Buddhism varies. There's like 100 varieties of Buddhism. And Buddhism and yoga and Samkhya do not always coordinate easily. And in my talk a couple of weeks ago, even there are people who argue that yoga philosophy and Samkhya philosophy are completely different because of dualism versus monism. So my basic bottom line here is these are not easy questions to answer. And you said that. You did say that, Diana. They're not easy questions to answer.
I guess that's where the yoga comes in and meditation too, because there are so many differences between these teachings. But when we find that clarity within ourselves, we can find that Dharma that Diana was talking about, and discovering in that way, you know, what's the right move to make in a certain situation. I'm just thinking about, you know, how the Tibetans were taken over by the Chinese, and this is not about climate, but more about, you know, war and oppression and so forth, and that they approached it from a nonviolent way, and the Dalai Lama sticks to that and has all the way along. And then I think of the war in Ukraine right now, where they're fighting for their country and their lives and their way of life. And, you know, which one's the one to go with? Which one's the right one? And I think that's a thing that humanity has to continually sort through and figure out. And I think that the yoga and the meditation helps us to become more clear, to find the true essence that will guide us. If we can all do that, maybe we will find that way someday. And
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, the vigilance, ask and ask again and ask again. And I think yoga is an experiential process. You know, we are expected to experience, not to accept, but to do our yoga and experience that acquisition of knowledge, of true knowledge, not to, just learn it from somebody else. So it's a doing thing.
Can I make a comment if possible?
Mhm.
Hello, this is Praveen Saxena. I'm from University of Guelph, and just a couple of comments. First of all, really, really excellent rendition, very good speech. I thoroughly enjoyed it and learned a lot. So thank you, and big thank you. And as Hans said about Gita, I have been also a student of Gita for quite some time. And what really amazes me is how many versions of Gita are, and so many translations. And one thing that's very clear is that people resonate with Gita, and they actually use it as a tool to justify what they're doing. It's a bit of Gandhi did that, and as Hans said, and there are many other people and leaders who have actually used Gita to make their point. Whether Gita in principle agrees with that or not is a totally different thing. I'm not a scholar of religion. I'm more into planet, and as part of my my research, I'm trying to save plant species that are dying on this planet. So my question, or rather a curiosity, is the choice of the use of the word fighting. What I'm reading from different books and literatures is if we become part of the nature, it's more assimilation and being part of it as opposed to having a struggle. Just wanted your thoughts on it, just the choice of the word as a fighting versus anything else that people are talking about.
Well, I think I used fight because I think that at this point in the climate crisis, it does take force. We do need force. Yeah. We are seeking to change the course of history. We are seeking to change action and change the flow of events. And I think that it takes effort, and that takes. So I think I wanted to use something a bit stronger than simply caring. You know, when I talked about the difference between caring for the planet and fighting for the planet, I think I wanted to use a word that was more action oriented, and perhaps talked about these exceptional times we're in now, requiring exceptional effort, as opposed to perhaps just assimilation. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, and that's what I thought. I just wanted to confirm, and it's a really, really good effort. I'm sure we all are probably have read or seen on TV the UN report. So much is being damaged by climate change, and being a plant scientist, I know that every 1 out of 5 plant species is being threatened today. So much of what we talk about in yoga is sort of connecting. So it's connecting in 2 ways, one with ourselves and one with the nature. And I think it's an excellent effort that you're doing in terms of fighting. Just my curiosity was there. And I was kind of having an authoritative view on and solving this problem. I remember one of my indigenous friend always used an example, and he used to say, you walk into Walmart, you pick up things, and then you walk away, what will happen? And the answer is, yeah, the alarm will go off, somebody will run after you. You just cannot take things and just walk away. Why don't we deal with nature as a Walmart that we have been given? We just keep taking. So in an authoritative way, just you describe fighting is just another word. So
Yeah.
we need to regulate and restrict that.
Yeah.
Thank you so
And
much. I appreciate that.
And I think the word fighting is not, I use that word because I think it elicits certain ideas, but I'm not going to go and punch somebody in the face. Because, like that's not the kind of fighting I was talking about.
Well,
Yeah.
if you're in a yoga pose, that would be acceptable. Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
think fighting here means right action. And right
Right
action
action.
for what? Right action to maintain the order, And why you are, going to be punished if you take something from Walmart, because this is against the natural order,
Yes, that's correct.
And right action is following your Dharma. It doesn't mean you have to go out and do demonstrations and go and stand in front of Parliament and scream and yell. No more, using oil or whatever. It's what your Dharma is. Maybe that is your Dharma and you go do that. But for someone else, I know for me, it's not that, because I'm spending all my time teaching yoga, teaching people how to find their inner Dharma. So that's my way of fighting, and we each one of us have our way of doing that. So
yeah. And that's interesting, in the Gita, Krishna does say, if you try and follow somebody else's Dharma, you won't be skillful.
Correct.
It's better to follow your own Dharma and make mistakes than to try and follow somebody else's Dharma. Yeah.
I think, as you said before, if we take care of ourselves and do things selflessly, many of the problems will just simply disappear, because then you're not trying to usurp or you're trying not to grab somebody else's thing. I think working through yoga about your own personality and I guess working selflessly can solve a lot of problems. And that's where I guess education like this comes into play. I'm sure the way you convey the message will stick around for a long time, at least in my brains.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, problem is who? Problem is I, nobody else. So that's where it is addressed. We are addressing to the problem within, and that if we have the problem within, that will, will show up outside.
I like what Monique said about following your own path, your own calling, your own Dharma. For me, at age 74 now, it's Jnana yoga that I really do every day. I mean, I stretch, I breathe, I read the text, but it's more the comparative historical sociology that inspires me and that really motivates me to do hours and hours of what I would call yogic activity, not always recognized as such. But Lalit and I have talked about this. Many people tend to do yoga and think that it has nothing to do with being an academic or an intellectual or a person who's interested in scholarship. But that isn't necessarily the case. For example, Praveen Saxena has just mentioned that he's a plant scientist. Well, I have the greatest respect for scientists who study plants, who study ants, mosquitoes, all critters. All creatures great and small. And I have many friends who are microbiologists, geneticists. Ajay is here. He's a great advocate of art and music and drama, and that is all important. So I would encourage people to think of yoga as not just limited to beautiful asanas and Lalit has inspired me so much because when I got heavily involved and then I realized that people who do beautiful asanas are not necessarily good people, it did make it hard for me for a while to accept yoga, because in and of itself, asanas are wonderful and they're so satisfying and give you such a sense of relief. But in and of itself, it doesn't necessarily make you a person who follows the yamas and the niyamas. And basic principles like santosha and so forth, so which is one of the niyamas. So I'm sorry, I'm going on too long, but it is very important to not neglect the jnana yoga, And I always have trouble, how do you pronounce that? Lalit always has to improve my way of pronouncing this strange word, but it's related to the Greek word gnosis, know thyself.
I think we are all on a journey, and we are all at different points of the journey. And I think we all kind of are growing, maturing with time and with experience. And I think the bottom line for me is just dharma and adharma. What is the dharma and what is dharma? Following the dharma. Otherwise, it's very, very complicated when we kind of go into things. We all know what is right and what is not right, and to some extent, doing the right things, listening to our conscious, and keeping healthy physically, mentally, and spiritually, keeping a good balance.
And it's just so rewarding. I mean, I find yoga very exciting, because discovering your dharma and following it is exciting. And yoga.
It tunes you in. It tunes you in, actually. Silence and stillness, it leads you to silence and stillness. And I think that's very powerful.
And it's always a good place. Silence and stillness is always a good place. And, yoga is such a broad church. As Hans was saying, you've got the Gnana yoga, you've got the Bhakti yoga, you've got the Karma yoga. We can all find our yogas, some expression of ourselves through some kind of yoga. Yeah, that's the power of it. That's, I guess, why it's lasted for so long.
And respecting everything, as Lalit said, like not only human beings, but even like if you are taking a Kleenex, think that, you are using part of the nature, and so preserving whatever you can. So
yeah, I think that's what the yoga gives you, the awareness, the vigilance that Diana was talking about.
So thank you, everybody, so much for this.
I just wanted to just say something. I just attended a session, and somebody said she has a wasteless, like she doesn't have a garbage can, wasteless house. There's no waste. She does. So that was very interesting. I think there is a store. They do not sell any plastic, nothing, and just no waste.
Wow.
Interesting.
Hey, in the British Wheel of Yoga, we've got a regional magazine. I wonder if Kelly's listening to this, and we've got a green page in it. Now, if you write that up, Veena, we'll put that in the green page in our regional magazine.
Okay, I'll find more about it and we'll be in touch. Yeah, it was very interesting.
Good.
Yeah, they said whatever you use, you should be able to reuse, you see, and then recycle and things like that, but no waste. That was very interesting. Yeah.
Oh, looks like there is a final word in the chat. It says, keep up the fight.
Keep up the fight. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Dai.
Thank you very much. I want to really thank everybody, especially from our guests from UK,
Thank you.
our family, all of our families.
Bye, Sheila.
Friends.
Thank you, Sheila, too.
Thank you
for
so
organizing this. This is great.
Good to see you, Mom.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Di.
Lovely to see you, Deb.
Thank you, everybody.
You, Di. Take care.
Thanks. See you, Janice. See you soon. I'll see you Wednesday, Janice. See you, Kelly.
Good Thursday, Di.
Oh, Thursday. Yes, see you Thursday. Yeah.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Lali.
Everybody.
That was great.
Thank you, Sheila, for our MC today. You've been the wonderful one. Thank you, Sheila.
Okay.
Thank you, Monique, for your work too.
Yeah, I would be very interested to get your reactions to my talk last time.
Oh, I thought it was fascinating. It was really, really lovely. And it was lovely to talk about samadhi, because it's such an important thing. I didn't actually attend the talk, but I went back into YouTube and listened to it.
Oh, thank you.
And I really enjoyed it.
For me, it was a discovery to think of householder samadhi as opposed to the more lofty, spend 30 years in the Himalayas.
Yes, that we can all achieve samadhi. It's tangible. Yeah, I agree. I think that,
Samadhi light.
samadhi light, that's right. That's what you referred to it as. And I think it was nice for me because I can remind my students that they can achieve it. They could reach it.
I'm working on the transcripts because I noticed that the machine doesn't recognize Sanskrit words. Some of them are very funny. For example,
Yeah.
psalm becomes psalm. The English word psalm, Psalm.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'd also be interested in your book. So I'll get a hold of that.
If you send me an email, I'll send it to you.
Okay, that would be great. I'd love that. Thank you very
It's also
much.
for sale, but I have a PDF of both. It's a set, actually. Lalit, of course, is pushing it really hard everywhere, right, Lalit?
I am.
Can I get the PDF as well, Hans? Can I get also?
Yes, if you send me an email to remind me. My email is very simple. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, if you could, that'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Did you want to say hello to us, Lalit?
Rajendraji, we love you. So
Yeah.
happy to see you. You have to fight.
Great.
I wanted him to listen also, so I brought
Very
him over
nice.
here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So he was off camera. Was that right, Veena?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. He's lying down actually. He has a fractured femur.
Oh no.
Yeah, but he's doing all right, he's walking sometimes with the cane, a little bit, not too much, but yeah.
He wasn't in a fight, was he? Was that why he got a fracture?
He was in a fight with a car.
Oh no.
Hit by a car, but anyways, but it could be anything, but he's all right. He'll be okay. H.
Thank you,
Baker.
Hansji. Thank you for
It's
that.
Bucker at uoguelph.ca. And there's no F in there. People always throw an F in there, and then they say, your email is...
There's no F.
There's no F.
Okay.
It's UO Guelph. University of
UO
Guelph, but there's no, they
Excellent.
don't put an F in there.
Okay,
H.
I will.
Baker.
Yeah, Hans. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Diva's wonderful.
Very
Thank you,
beautiful
Veena.
talk, Diana. Very beautifully done.
Thank you, Hans.
Amazing.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Maura, are you still there? I think Maura has left her computer. She's one of my students. Yeah. I think yeah, good.
Even Sheila has left.
Yeah, Sheila's left.
Wow, where did she
Diana,
go?
the book I've been recommending to Lalit is a book by a great scholar named Randall Collins.
Randall Collins. R-A-N-D-E-L-L.
Randall, the normal spelling of Randall, and Collins, Collins.
Yeah.
He's a colleague and an acquaintance, sort of a friend. He's famous. His book that I recommended to Lalit, who Lalit's now starting it, is called The Sociology of Philosophies.
He's a sociologist. Eh?
The Sociology of Philosophies. He's a comparative, historical, theoretical sociologist. There's all kinds of sociologists. And it is a mind-boggling book. It's an education in itself. I have 100 books on yoga and Zen Buddhism and history of Hinduism and so forth. But I could throw them all away and just keep that one because
Really?
I wouldn't throw them away. I don't throw anything away. That's my problem. I've got too much stuff. But
Well, you're
I've got 15,000 books in a warehouse, and it's terrible. No, it's this quest for knowledge, you see. So, but Randy is amazing. And he's just, I said, how did you do this? He said, well, I had this huge bookcase, and explained it to me. But it is just so profound. Now, if you're a super expert on 4th century Confucianism, then you might find a little problem in something he might have said. But it's way beyond what most academics know about these topics. And it's not about yoga per se, but the section on Indic civilization alone is worth the price for anyone interested in yoga.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to. That would be
For
great.
example, he explains that what we today call Hinduism comes after what we today call Buddhism.
Oh, that's
We're
interesting.
not technically, you know, many yoga teachers say, oh, yoga is 3,000 years old. That's not true. The Vedas and the Upanishads precede Buddhism, but then the Upanishadic discussion for 400 years is what resulted in what we now call Buddhism and what we now call Hinduism in English. Both words are very deceptive. The word Christianity is deceptive. So he gets into it in a scholarly way that I admire. I'm jealous. I'm jealous that he did such good work. But you know, I keep trying my own little way.
Non-attachment, Hans. Non-attachment.
Yeah, learn. No, it's very hard, and
It is hard.
No, Gandhi did teach me that. I mean, in his comments, work very hard. He spent 8 years in jail. 8 years. I think a week in jail, I'd already say, well, I'm ready to give up now.
Yeah, I know. These
He
things
would
are
sleep.
life.
He would sleep on a hard mattress because he said he had to be ready for jail going. And I think of this when I see these mattress ads, you know, buy a $2,000 mattress and all that.
That's amazing.
So
No,
Randall
that
Collins, The
great.
Sociology of Philosophy. And I told Randy, the title is not very welcoming. People don't understand what the heck that is. Like, who wants to read about the sociology of philosophies, for God's sake, you know? But he means philosophies in the most general sense. It includes theological viewpoints, it includes worldviews and perspectives. And then he doesn't mean sociology in a narrow sense. He means the history and social science of all these things.
Yeah.
What I call comparative historical sociology. There's a small section of the American Sociological Association that uses that label, but it's not generally used by the general public. But it's not the sociology of Wales or the sociology of Canada or the sociology of Ontario or the sociology of delinquency in Ontario. It's a broad big picture.
Hans G.
Yes.
Non-attachment from CHS, comparative historical sociology. Just joking.
Yeah, I will. I'll get a hold of that, Hans. Thanks for that.
I've given it to many people, and
okay. And if I can, I'll keep you posted on whether my
there'll be a test on Monday.
You're too used to saying that.
No, I think if a group of us could really study just the section on Indic civilization alone.
Yeah.
Now, there's a whole section on Sinitic Chinese civilization. There's a whole section on the rise of modern universities and rapid discovery science and all of that. I mean, it's well worth the $40, you know. Harvard
Absolutely.
University Press, Belknap Press.
Okay.
1998. It's on the Amazon.
Okay. That's great. Lovely. Thank you very much. Monique, you're a yoga teacher, aren't you?
I am. That was a beautiful presentation, Diana. I loved it. And I learned a lot of beautiful things from you that I'm probably going to assimilate into my own teaching.
Assimilate.
Yes, assimilate. So thanks so much about that.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to come to one of your classes one day if you do them on Zoom.
I do them on Tuesdays at noon on Zoom, noon here. So I don't know what that's the evening for you, I suppose. I don't know what daylight savings time where we're at with Europe at this point.
That would be 6 or
I know that would be 4 o'clock at this point.
4 o'clock, yeah. So yeah, if you can ever make it, it's just on Lalit's Zoom link from noon to.
Okay, it's almost 4 o'clock here now. What time is it there, Diana?
It is 8 o'clock, almost 8 o'clock.
Okay, so only a 4-hour time difference. Yeah.
Once we have daylight savings time, it'll be 5 hours.
When's your daylight savings time?
It's at the end of March. It's in 2 weeks from now.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Is that just in the United Kingdom or all over Europe? I guess
it's all over Europe.
Is that?
It's all over Europe, I think. Well, you know what? I'm not going to say because I don't. Yeah. So, but it is. I do know it's in the UK.
Yeah.
Good.
But you're originally Canadian, Diana?
I am. I'm from Toronto.
When did you move to England?
About 17 years ago. We moved to Wales. So we just live north of Cardiff.
Wow.
Yeah. It's very rainy here. We actually have parts of Wales are classified as a rainforest.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it's that rainy. Yeah, which makes it very, very green, which is lovely. But it is wet. You have to put up with the wet. So, but there we are. Anyway, I might head off and grab something to eat if that's okay.
Perfect.
But thank you, everybody, and hopefully we'll.
We feel your pain. We feel your pain.
But I will. Yeah, I will keep in touch. I mean, I know Monique and Lalit will keep in touch, but Hans, I hope we keep in touch as well. So
I would very much like that. I can't praise Lalit enough. He's so kind to me. He overestimates me all the time. Then he creates this thing that I have to become better than I already thought I was. So.
Oh, no.
He has a very something that.
Yeah, he's pretty smart that way. It's pretty deep.
Yes, he's a bit canny. I was noticing he gets us to do things. We don't really even realize he's got us to do things.
Yeah,
That's great.
him.
So I learned from Lali.
Diana, do you teach a class on Zoom?
I'm just a servant.
Keep following his Dharma, 100%.
Monique, I teach my family on Thursdays, which is a good it's a 9 o'clock class on Zoom on Thursdays, but because otherwise I teach a 10 in the morning Zoom class in the UK. Well, what is that for you? 6 in the morning. I mean, you're welcome to join, but it is early for you.
Right.
But those moments were very, how do you call that? Very serene and very silent, very still moments that you showed us. Beautiful.
Yeah. So if you have jet lag sometime and you're up early in the morning, or if you have a free Thursday morning, then just let me know, and it'd be really lovely to have you in the class. Lalit comes every once in a while, and the same with Johannes. Yeah. So
can you send me a URL or a way of finding you?
I can send you. Yes, I'll tell you what. I'll send you my email, and then I'll also just send you a Zoom link.
Okay, and you have my email, so
I have your email. Yeah.
And is it okay if I get your email from Lalit?
Yeah, I can give it to you right now.
Sure.
Okay. Oh, why don't I put it in the chat?
Okay. Yeah, the chat is still on, still live. Very well attended today.
Yeah.
Were there a lot of people there that were your people, Diana? Or
Probably there was a lot of my family. And there were probably about I think there were about 4 of my students.
Okay.
Yeah. Kelly, the one from the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, she was my student, but now she's become a teacher. She's a terrific teacher.
Amazing.
So yeah, it's lovely to see. Yeah.
How about Marielle? Did you share with her? I forgot, sorry. Say, I forgot to share with Marielle your talk. I hope you shared.
Oh, I did share with Marielle.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I hope she looks at it on YouTube, because that will give her an idea.
But she was not here today though, eh?
She wasn't, no.
Yeah.
No, a few of my students are going to look it up on YouTube.
Your email's not in the chat yet, Diana.
Oh, I thought it was there. Can you not see it?
No.
No.
Oh, let me try it again. What am I doing wrong? It's because I've lost my glasses. Oh, because it's a direct message to Lalit. No, I want it to everyone.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Okay. No, that's not it yet.
It's coming. Is that it? Can you see it?
Lalit, what is the exact best pronunciation of Arjuna? Arjuna?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Lalit, are you there?
You're on mute.
Oh.
You're on mute, Lalit.
Lalit, what is the best pronunciation? Arjuna?
We don't have I usually, I is anglicized. We call Arjun.
Arjun. You just say Arjun. And Arjun.
Yeah. We don't have Krishna. We have Krishna, just like that.
Yes, I know. But
so what do you say for Krishna? You're Krishnan.
Krishna.
Krishna.
Oh, really?
So
That's interesting.
The A.
There's no A, no, that's anglicized.
Krishna.
Oh, yeah. Just
That's
like yog.
interesting.
Yog.
Yeah. So is that why some people will say, rather than pranayama, they'll say pranayam?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's
Okay.
not asana, it's asan.
Yes. And it's not Mahabharata, it's Mahabharat.
Oh,
Exactly. Mm.
wow, that's
But when
interesting.
the British took over India, they started to change that. And I have an Indian friend who's always bugging me. Every time I teach a class, he comes by my class and says, he looks at my sign and says, it's not yoga, it's yoga. You should take that A off of there. And I
Wow,
say,
that's
well, I'm in Canada, and if I put yog, no one's going to come to my class.
It's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not yog, it's yog.
Yog.
Yeah.
Lalit?
Hmm?
Lalit?
Yeah, it is yoga, but sometimes what happens in certain way the Sanskrit is, you put a colon, colon.
Yeah. Yes.
And when you put the colon, then you can say yoga. It's a not Y-O-G-A, but it's a Y-O-G-A-H, yoga. Like
Yoga.
Oh, I
yoga.
see. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was learning Sanskrit, the teacher fooled us. He said, "Oh, it's so easy, you know. Every letter is your friend. So all you have to do is learn 42 letters." Oh, I got all enthusiastic, you know. But then when you try to look something up in a Sanskrit dictionary, oh my God, because all of these diacritical marks. So the diacritical marks change everything again. And of course, it's not ABC, it's all based on a different order. The first letter of the Sanskrit alphabet is, of course, K.
Wow.
Yeah. That's confusing.
Yeah.
They
We
put the
have a
vowels,
Sanskrit.
they put the vowels separate from the consonants and semivowels.
Right. We've got a Sanskrit course here, and I think half of me thinks, oh, I'd love to take it, and half of me thinks, you know, because this woman I know has taken it, and she said, oh, it's really hard, and then the teacher actually, you know, pinpoints you in class, you know. Now, Monique, now can you, you know, do that? What did you do your homework? So I'm quite intimidated, and I haven't done it yet. But
I ran a seminar on semiotics for about 12 years. And one of the exercises I had the students do was to recite the alphabet. I have a wonderful book now on the alphabet as well, what we call the alphabet. And it starts A, B, C. Okay, that's pretty good. A is a vowel, B is a consonant, C is a consonant. But then you get to D, okay, another consonant, and then you get to E, which is another vowel. Now, if you eliminate the vowels, then you go B, C, D, F, G, and then if you constantly use the same vowel sound for the consonants, then you get a whole different way of doing it. So you have B, C, D, Fi, Gi, He, and so forth. You see? So the fact that we change the sounds of the way in which we pronounce the consonants, in addition to the fact that we throw those vowels in there arbitrarily with no clear order,
oh, right.
makes it
Yeah.
so much difficult. I wonder how little children ever learn it. I wonder how I ever learned it.
Yeah.
And then I get people to recite it in French or Spanish. Many people have several languages. I learned it first in Dutch. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You
Yeah.
know, so we don't say Y in English. These are different ways of saying even our own arbitrary alphabeta. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's very
what does that mean? Well, it means that the Sanskrit alphabet order is actually better. If I had my way, I'd have every child have to learn the Sanskrit alphabet in grade school. They'd learn it easily.
Mm.
But by the time you're old, I was starting to try to learn it in my 30s. Very hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know Indonesian. I speak Indonesian. Saya berbicara bahasa Indonesia. And there are many Sanskrit words in Indonesia. For example, Cipta Karya. And Lalit will know that immediately. What is Cipta Karya, Lalit?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't, maybe the
You know
pronunciation.
Karya?
Hmm?
Karya?
Karya? Yeah, work, like work.
Work, yes. And Chipta?
Chipta.
hard work, constructive work.
Okay.
So the ministry of well, I call it labor. In Indonesia, it's called Cipta Karya. Departemen Cipta Karya. It's a Sanskrit phrase.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Learn Welsh next.
Oh, it
They
is
s-
surprising to me that it's even an Indo-European language. Oh my God, have you learned it? Have you
I
learned
know. And yet there is some, some similarities. Well, certainly 1 to 10, I think. In die 3 pedwa pimp. That's similar to this.
Maybe you can bring your supper here.
Yeah, I'm not starving,
Actually, I
Diana.
better go. I really better go. I'd go on forever if I could.
Thank you, Diana.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Very,
Thank
very
you
good
very
talk.
much.
Excellent talk.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Hansji. Thank you very much. You are amazing as always.
Bye-bye, everybody.
So much to learn every time.
Ahimsa.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Dai.